Well, today we're going to talk about a very important subject for all of us. Because either you are a mom that will get old, or you have a mom that will get old. So it's kind of the same thing with the picking of the songs. Regardless of where you're at in life, this can be important for you. And so we want to talk about honoring our moms in her old age. Providing for her, making sure that she is taken care of. Now, in our society, we have boiled this down to one concept, basically, I think. And that is, do we put them in a nursing home or not? Right? Is this basically how we've boiled this topic down? Do we put them in a nursing home or do we not? And there are people who are very adamant on both sides of this subject of absolutely put them in a nursing home. Or absolutely, that's a horrible thing to do. They wouldn't put you in a nursing home. They took care of you. And today's message has nothing to do with putting them in a nursing home or not. Because we can take care of our parents, our moms specifically, by putting them in a nursing home. There are other situations where we can take care of our parents by not putting them in a nursing home. And we can also not take care of our parents by putting them in a nursing home. And we can not take care of our parents by not putting them in a nursing home. Every situation is different. Your situation is going to be different than my situation. But there are some principles there, and really just one basic principle that we're going to talk about, making sure that they're taken care of. And why is that so important? It's kind of a common sense no-brainer, right? They took care of you. You survived, didn't you? If you're wondering, yes, is the answer. You're sitting here. So yes, you survived. And you owe a great deal of that survival to your mama. And so we owe her that respect. The Apostle Paul, you guys remember the church at Thessalonica, he told them that the man who does not take care of his family is worse than an infidel. Now, we have a hard time translating the first century world into our world today. And this is where that argument becomes kind of heated. Because in the first century, guess what they didn't have? Nursing homes. Didn't have nursing homes. And so if you were a part of that family, you were a part of that family. Now, what sociologists are telling us is that, this is not good news, Chris. What sociologists are telling us is that the way the world is, the economy has been as good as it's probably ever going to be. We have probably already seen the heyday of the economy. Salaries will not match prices and so on and so forth, and we are not making more dirt, if you guys have noticed that. So what sociologists are telling us is that we are headed back. Sorry, Wade and Ashley. We're headed back to the extended family staying together much longer than what we're accustomed to in today's society. So we may squeak out, Chris. There's a good chance that our three hoodlums are going to have their grandkids with them. That'll teach them. And so just because the price of housing goes up, the price of food goes up, price of utilities go up, everything goes up, and salaries don't match that. And so we may get a taste of this in the future, look more like it was in the first century. So things that are options today weren't options for them. And so you had this responsibility to provide for your family, and especially you had the responsibility to provide for your family when they could no longer provide for themselves. Because there were no social programs. Something else they did not have in the first century. They didn't have Social Security. They didn't have pensions. They didn't have retirement. They didn't have Medicare or Medicaid. They didn't have any of those social programs. It was your family. Look around. That was your social program. So I guess that's an added push to make sure that your kids succeed in life, right? And do really well. Like, that's my retirement plan right there. So you're going to school, kid. So we have all of these responsibilities. And what I see in our society a lot is that we get lazy. When someone else is willing to do our job for us, a lot of times we allow them to do it. And we talk about that all the time in terms of like Sunday school, right? We don't teach our kids at home about Christ. We bring them here and we expect Sunday school teachers to do that. We send our kids to elementary school. We're not going to teach them about math. We expect the school teacher to do that. That's their job, right? Well, guess what? They didn't have public school in the first century either. So if they learned things, guess where they learned it? At home. And so as Americans, we are very good at passing the buck. We are very good at saying that's someone else's job. And so we do the exact same things now, I see, as our parents get older, as we allow other people to do our job for us. So here's the principle that we're going to base everything on today. Is not, do you put them in a nursing home or do you not? It is this simple principle. Make sure that they are taken care of. Make sure that they are taken care of. I had an uncle that they did not put in a nursing home, and that was a mistake because he should have been there. They could not take as good a care for him at home as they could have in a medical facility. And that was a mistake. They should have put him in there. My grandma went to the nursing home because she wanted to. I can still remember her telling my mom, I'm tired of living at home by myself. I'm ready to go to the nursing home. And she went to the nursing home and flourished. She was president of the resident society and took part in all the special days and won ribbons for all the little contests they had. I mean, she just ate it up. And so I've seen both sides of this situation. The place where I think it's most evident that we take care of our moms is in the life of Christ. In one particular moment. So here's the situation. Christ is hanging on the cross. He is actively dying for my sins. He is actively dying for your sins. Not only do we have the spiritual aspect of this, he is in excruciating pain. In fact, you guys have heard me say this before. The word excruciating literally means out of the cross. The pain was so great in being crucified that they came up with a new word. One thing that you will not hear me say once I learned that in college is you'll never hear me say I'm in excruciating pain, because I have not been in excruciating pain. He has lost all of this blood. He is barely hanging on to life. He's kind of busy, isn't he? Right? It's kind of a busy moment. The other day, I'll admit this, I was talking to my mom on the phone. It's her fault. And I was going over the viaduct, and I may have been going a little fast. I think I was doing about 50. And a cop pulled me over. And apparently I was going so fast that he was just stunned that I would be driving that fast, because he didn't even write a ticket. He just kind of looked at me. He said, You're doing 50 through the middle of town. Slow down. Yes, sir. Sure thing. So let's back up now. Here's the part where I was kind of busy at the moment. So I'm talking to my mom, and we're talking about her having cataract surgery. And I wasn't paying attention to how fast I was driving. And the cop turns the blue lights on. And I said, Mom, I got to go. Cops pull me over. Did she say, okay, son, talk to me later? Why is he pulling you over? Mom, I got to go. The cops pulled me over. Are you okay? Mom, I've got to go. Well, son, what have you done? What's going on? Mom, I've got to go. I am actively being pulled over right now. I am busy. Jesus was really busy. You know, some days I feel like I have the weight of the world on me. He literally did have the weight of the world on him. And here's what he did. John chapter 19. You want to talk about a humbling passage of Scripture for a son who thinks he's too busy. Verse 26, when Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, Woman, behold your son. And then he said to the disciple, Behold your mother. From that hour, the disciple took her into his own household. Jesus literally had the weight of the world on him. He was The very next thing is he dies. And he stops. And he says, Mom, this is going to be the guy who's going to take care of you. And he looks at John and he says, treat her as your own mother. Now, Jesus had other brothers, didn't he? We know that. But this was Jesus' responsibility. He was the oldest son. And he knew that John would take care of her. And so in the midst of him dying, in the midst of him being a sacrifice for the sins of the world, he stops to make sure that his mama is taken care of. And John records from that moment on, she lived with me. I took care of her. I provided for her. I made sure that she had food. I made sure that she had shelter. I made sure that she had clothing. I made sure that she had all those things that she could no longer provide for herself. Guys, we are not too busy. Do you agree? I don't care how busy we are. We are not too busy to take care of our moms. You get one. You get one of them. And I can still remember talking about my mom one day about how much she gripes, and she does. Not like mean griping, just like negative. Complain. And I said something to her one day, and she said, well, one of these days you're going to miss that. And I said, no, ma'am. I said, I will miss you, and I will miss being able to hear you talk, and I'll miss being able to have a conversation with you, but I will not miss your griping. You can go ahead and write that down. I'm not going to miss that. I said, because sometimes I feel like a horse that you're just riding, and I wish you'd find a new one to ride. The problem is me and my mom are so much alike. But anyway, this has been a tough one to swallow this week because I've known now for a few weeks that we were going to preach about this, and then I've kind of wanted to avoid it because I have to confront all my excuses because none of them are really valid, right? So what are some of the excuses we say? We say, well, I'm busy. Again, Jesus was kind of tied up at the moment. Literally not tied up. Literally, he was nailed up at the moment, dying on a cross. I have my own family, right? That's an excuse we say. Wouldn't my mom be a part of that family? Yeah. My priorities. This is the lady who gave birth to me. That kind of warrants a special place in priorities, doesn't it? So we have all of these priorities, and then we want to have that conflict where he says, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his wife. You cannot get married to excuse your responsibilities. Sometimes we use getting married like people did going to Canada during Vietnam. You can't go to Canada to get out of Vietnam and everything be okay and say, well, I'm sorry, I was just touring Canada. It doesn't work like that. Our country kind of frowned on that. You can't say, oh, I got married, so I don't have to take care of my mom anymore. Still your mom. Responsibilities are still there. They still exist. And if this doesn't affect you, as far as taking care of your mom, because you're sitting here thinking, well, I'm a mom, so that's my brother's responsibility. Okay, I'll give you that. If you're a mom, and you're going to want somebody to take care of you, right? So how do we learn? By example. So how are our kids going to take care of us? Probably in direct proportion to how we take care of our parents. And some of you are thinking, oh no, I have messed up. It's not too late. You can tell them, hey, I'm sorry, that's wrong. One of the things Bill used to tell me all the time, his dad taught him, was he said, you want to do things for your kids as you live life, not wait until you're dead to give them something. And I asked him one day, I said, why? He said, because if you don't, he said, you'll be at your deathbed, and instead of your kids looking at your doctors saying, do everything you can to save them, they will look at your doctors and say, well, they've lived a good life, let them go. He said, they will either be compassionate or they will be vultures. You do not want vultures as kids. So guys, this is a simple message, and I wish it were harder so I could sound smarter. But it's simply take care of your moms. Take the time to call them. Take the time to visit with them. Take the time to see them. Take the time to make sure that their needs are met. Because that's our responsibility. It's not that it's the nice thing to do. That has nothing to do with it. It's the right thing to do. And that is not always easy. It is not always convenient, right? Let's just be honest. It's not always convenient. I don't know how many times I've seen people whose parents passed away and then they feel guilty because they're relieved. Right? They're relieved. Just be honest. They've had to be at the hospital for weeks or months or years. They've had to do this forever, and it seems like, it's just a drain on everything, and they realize mom or dad's better off. But then they feel guilty. Well, don't feel guilty. Feel like you've done everything you can do. And now their life is over with, and your responsibility is fulfilled. Now, next week we'll talk about the responsibility that continues on even after mom's gone, as we talk about honoring our moms through our offspring, through the people that come behind us. But today we're simply just focusing on taking care of her. And so again, the greatest example we find of taking time out to take care of mom is Jesus hanging on a cross. And he looks at John, he looks at his mom, and he says, "Behold your son, and behold your mother." So guys, for those of us who still have time, use it wisely to take care of our moms. Moms, this is not a message for you to use as a guilt trip. Okay? Don't be elbowing them, saying, I told you, this is what you're supposed to do. Don't use it as a guilt trip. But just know that, guys, it's our responsibility. It's our job. God has given that to us. Don't forget, next Sunday is Mother's Day. And this is an opportunity for us to honor the women in our lives. And this is kind of a weird day. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like Mother's Day as a pastor. And the reason why I don't like Mother's Day as a pastor is because it can be really awkward. The very first church that I ever pastored, we used to do the youngest mother with most kids, present, mother with the oldest mother with the most kids wearing yellow. We had all kinds of stuff. Giving away potted plants that nobody really wanted anyway. And I just remember how awkward. Notice we don't do that. We're not going to do that. And the reason why we don't do that is because I learned a valuable lesson as I sat there and watched a young lady cry throughout the rest of the church service one year because she desperately wanted to have a kid. And she couldn't get pregnant. And then I watched her cry the next year as we had that awkwardness of someone who just had a baby. It'd be like Ashley. So she just got a brand new baby sitting there, and this girl was pregnant, finally got pregnant, everybody was excited, and the baby died. Had a miscarriage. And then you have that awkwardness of, okay, who's the youngest mom? And she just sat there and cried the rest of the service. And I'm like, wow, what a great thing to do. Let's bring people to church and just make them bawl because they feel horrible. So we don't do that kind of stuff. So this is an opportunity. What I like to turn Mother's Day into is Woman's Day. And so honor all of them. They're all worthy of being honored. Okay? Because it is hard work being a woman. Because you have to put up with us as men. So that's what we'll do. So if you've got a woman in your life, by George, you send her flowers or a card or give her a kiss and a hug or something, some chocolate. You tell her how much you appreciate her, all right? This be the smart thing to say. Yes. Will do. Roger Wilco. All right, guys. Like I said, this was short and sweet and not complicated. You've got a mama, take care of her. You are a mama, teach your kids to take care of you.